I'm a young person here in Sierra Leone, working with Plan International as an education and a gender advocate. I also work with GPE as a GPE youth leader, and I'm part of Transform Education as a member. We are working with OnGuy. There are so many things, but for now, let me just cut that down.
Amazing. Well, it's so lovely to meet you, Sewanatu. I'm Gemma Hayes, and I'm a songwriter. And you know, I'm relatively new to all of this. I've got two young kids, a boy and a girl, and you know, I've always been very independent, and I've released albums through my own record label, and I set up my own publishing company. And while I've always sort of been aware of the need for girls' education, it was only this year, February 2021, that it really landed on my doorstep, and I was asked to get involved, which has been an amazing opportunity for me, actually, to step up and to contribute and to help in any way that I can. To be honest with you, it was very much not on my radar for quite a while. It was on the periphery, and I would hear about certain parts of the world where, you know, the education of girls was just not a priority. But it never came into my life, you know, my daily life. And it wasn't until April of this year when I was asked if I wanted to help write a song about raising awareness, about educating girls, that it really landed on my doorstep. And I started to do some research into what GPE were doing and what people like Plan International and Irish Aid were doing. And it sort of lit a fire in me, because as a woman, you know, I think we'd be hard pressed to find a woman in the world that has not experienced some level of discrimination. So, you know, for me, it was a real tangible opportunity to step forward and use my voice and use my creativity or my talent to just, you know, contribute to what all of you are doing. So yeah, it's very new for me, but at the same time, I feel so kind of passionate about it now. And I just want to get involved in any way that I can to help raise awareness, really, about this massive issue.
That's really inspiring. I like I really like you are being true to what you are saying, like how it started and how it's going. Like, I see so much passion in your voice when you speak about it, because I tell people it's about the passion and impact we make. It's not about people knowing who is Sewanatu. It's about people knowing what is Sewanatu doing and the impact that you are doing in your community. So this makes really, it's an inspiration. I need to say this. I think I should use this platform to inspire other celebrities in Sierra Leone to see how they can push for education. So I'm going to ask you lots of questions. The next question will be, the next question could be, can you tell us a little bit about your own experience with education? Where did you go to school? What impact did receiving an education have on your life?
Yes. Well, I was brought up, I'm the youngest of 8 children. And I was brought up in rural Ireland, which is a very small village in the countryside in Ireland. I was born in the late 70s. So my childhood was in the 80s, when Ireland was still very much sort of, there was a very tight relationship between the state and the church, the Catholic Church. So when I look back in my early years, it was very much the church doctrine was in my life, in my daily life. But in saying that, you know, I did receive an education, and that gave me a voice, and it gave me practical skills, of course, you know, like to be able to read and write and maths and deal with money. And then when I went on to college, to be able to, you know, get qualifications. So on those very practical terms, it did which is an amazing thing for education to do. But it also, it basically being given an education, it's the state was saying, you're worth something. You're important to us. We want you to contribute. You are part of our society. We want you to step up and use your skills and use your talent. So it was just really empowering, but I took it for granted. I think a lot of people in Ireland, everybody's getting educated. All the boys and girls are getting educated. So in a way, I didn't see how precious it was until as an adult. And then you realize, my goodness, there's people in life that do not get this opportunity. But yeah, it's allowed me to be independent and to contribute to society. Yeah, which is important,
Education is really important. I can still remember when I was in primary school, when my teachers used to tell me, education is better than silver and gold. Like, I'm really experiencing it now. They used to tell us, like, every when we come to school, at the school assembly, we'll sing a song that education is better than silver and gold. So it's really important when I wake up in the morning and see young girls who could not access education like myself. I feel so sorry, and I think about things to do, because if it was not for education, you and I will not be here today to discuss the future of children. So the next question will be, how did the partnership with Global Partnership for Education come about? I really want to learn and get some gisting around that.
Yeah, so how it came about was a guy called Tim Ross was asked, he's a producer, engineer, and a songwriter, and he was asked to write, to get songwriters together to write a song about raising girls up and raising awareness for the education. So he reached out to me February of this year, and he asked me if I would be interested in writing a song about this. So I went away and I said, GPE, what is this? And I looked it up online and I started reading about all the work that Plan International are doing, GPE are doing. And so that was the door that I came in. And once I started doing the research, it sort of blew my mind, because you can sometimes feel like these issues are insurmountable, and then you realize, well, hang on a minute, there are hundreds of thousands of people working away behind the scenes, making these girls' lives better, and they're reaching girls slowly but surely. So it was really from the creative point of view that I got involved. And it's been an absolute joy. I've loved meeting people like yourself and all the people I've met along the way. I've just found it really inspiring. And as I said before, it's really lit a fire in me to use my voice.
When I listened to the song, when I first heard about it, I was like, I was choked with exams, and I said, let me just listen to this song and see how beautiful is it. That will take me to my next question. The Raise Her Up is a beautiful song. Where did you find the inspiration for a beautiful song like this?
Well, Sewanatu, thank you so much. And I'm so glad that song resonated with you, because that was the goal. The goal was to use melody and the truth of the situation to get this issue to resonate with people. So when I sat down with Tim and a guy called Jamie Lawson, another songwriter, I really wanted to make sure that we didn't get bogged down with how dire the situation is, because it's easy to do that. And we wanted to make sure that the song had a sense of hope. So that was number one, was the hope. And then it was to turn the issue, basically make people feel it, because that's what music does, isn't it? You can sing about anything, and you go from knowing what it's about to actually feeling it. So that was a major goal for me. And then when it came to writing, really, I thought about my daughter, Maya, and I thought about, wow, imagine what her life would be if she was not educated. And you and I both know it's not just the lack of education, it's what that means in terms of the prospects for a girl's future. She will be denied a choice in so many other areas of her life. And And it's so stark. And so that really would, you know, to see my little girl there going, wow, you know, we all want the best for our children. We all want them to thrive, not just survive. We want them to thrive. So that was really what sort of drove me to try to find a balance in the song of, this is the issue. Bring it into your homes, feel it, really feel it. And let's raise awareness. That was the goal and the inspiration.
That's great. Like, this is really good. Inspiration is key. Like, my biggest inspiration is my dad. Like,
Yeah.
He's my biggest inspiration when I'm tired of working, when I'm tired of writing. I just think about how my dad did not go to school, but he made sure that every one of his children went to school. I am the last child and still in school. He knows
Wow.
nothing about education, but he keeps on inspiring us. He's a local taxi driver, but he used all what he got. That man could not have never seen my dad buy a new clothes, a new shoes, or whatsoever. All he does is invest in us. He tells us, you are my bank. I'm going to invest in you and change the line in my family, because nobody went to school in his family. And he was like, I'm going to change that situation. So he's my biggest inspiration.
That's
As we know,
incredible.
yes, he's my biggest inspiration in this life.
And it's so true, isn't it? Because once you educate a child, you break the chain. You break
Yes.
the chain.
Yes.
And then once that child is educated, they can never unknow what they know now. And they will pass that on to the next generation. And that line is broken of being denied that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's incredible. He's a very wise man.
Yeah, most times he tells me that you think like a 30-year-old, but you're just 21. And I'm like, why is that? So he said, because I gave you the opportunity to learn and make mistakes. Going to school will help. Like, in his family, almost everybody is married before 18. But none of us, we are forced to marry because we know what we want. Education was there to support us. So I tell people, if we want to fight teenage pregnancy, child marriage, the biggest weapon is education. Because when people are educated, they know what to go for. So that has been the inspiration. So let me take the next question. With COVID-19 all around us, when you hear the figure about 120 million girls, 120 million not in school before COVID-19, 20 million girls are at risk of never going back to school. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the scale at all? Like, when you hear the...
Yes, actually, when I read those statistics, my first feeling was just, oh, this is so depressing. You know, that was because it's 2021, you know, come on. Like, there's no time in history when this was acceptable at all, but at 2021, when the world is supposed to be so much more advanced and evolved, this number is outrageous. And that was the first, yes, I felt overwhelmed and I felt disheartened. But then, and also, you know, just as one person reading these massive numbers, you just go, oh, like, where can anybody start? Because this is about a belief system and a culture and a way of viewing women, and not seeing their full value and what they can contribute. This is so deep. Where do you start? So then, you know, when I started to see Plan International and GPE and Irish Aid and the many of the other ones that I don't know the names of, they were like, step by step, girl by girl, we are going to change the world. And it's going to be a long road. And the way I see it is, I remember somebody describing a situation like this, and it came to me when I was reading these numbers and what all of these incredible organizations are doing. Discrimination and, you know, gender inequality, it's like a big old army tank. It's a rusty old army tank. And we're trying to get societies to move 180 degrees really slowly. It's an old way of moving, and it's reluctant, and we just have to keep trying to get it to turn around and go on a new path. But it is working. I mean, when I see the numbers of girls through Plan International and GPE and all these organizations that are getting educated, you know, it's a real, you know, there's hope. There's so much hope. And all the countries that are signing up and pledging millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. So it really is about keeping it under their nose. We don't want this to be pushed to the side. We want to keep it right there on the table. It is vital. It is vital. Yeah.
That's the spirit. The time is now. We need to change the world. We need to change how we look at things, and education can really help. When you talk about the commitments governments are making, that will take me to the next question. What did you think about Ireland's recent commitment of 60 million euros to GPE? Would you encourage other world leaders to follow suit?
Yes, number one to that last question. But for Ireland, you know, I'm so proud of the Irish government, and I'm really proud of Minister Colin Brophy, because, you know, we're a small country. And I just feel like, you know, he stepped up massively this year, pledging 60 million over 5 years. And I think that's, in a way, it's kind of inadvertently put pressure, I think, on bigger countries to go, hey, look what we can do. And we're a small country. So come on, guys, you know, dig a little deeper into the pockets. We can do this. So I'm very proud, actually. Yeah, it's a great moment, because, you know, we got to speak with Minister Colin Brophy about this, and he gets it. He understands that education, you know, it changes the world. It really does. I mean, if 130 million girls are educated and contribute to society, you know, and that's just the school age girls now. But going forward, of course, it's going to change the world, you know, and he gets that, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm. It is. So what word of encouragement will you give to other world leaders to follow what Ireland is doing? Because I'm also proud of them. Like, when I look at the map, I look at what they do, and hearing something big like that gives us inspiration as young people to keep on advocating for world leaders to invest in education.
Yeah. It's you know, it's really about, you know, these world leaders. They've got a lot going on, you know, and it's really about keeping it there present. It's so important. And, you know, just looking at the figures, you know, they are beginning to step up. And I think because of people like you, Sewanatu, and all these youth activists we're all banging on the drum, right? This is the way I see it. We are all using our voices and our skills to really make this loud. We're making this issue loud. And sometimes it takes that. It takes for just, we need to get through all the clutter and the issues that the leaders have in their lives. And to go, you know, this is key. But they are stepping up. It's a really hopeful time, you know.
That's the key. It's a hopeful time. We are hoping for better changes in our educational systems and seeing how we can improve, because education is the way. I would say that over and over. So I've really enjoyed talking to you. I've learned a lot. My inspiration level has increased. So, but I have this last question that I'm going to ask. Do you think artistic model like music can help reach many people?
Yes, it has the potential to. Absolutely. I mean, and I see it as there's two roads with the arts, you know, whether it's through film or music, you know, drama. There's all the different aspects of the arts. But what we do is, you know, a lot of different artists, we have followings. We literally, that real practical, we can reach an audience through social media. And if we can combine all our followers on social media and get them to also, you know, raise awareness and send it out to their followers, this will spread, absolutely. And what I find talking to other artists and talking to people around me, they don't know about this. They don't know. And once I tell them the facts, they're like, oh my goodness, wow, you know, what can I do? So there's great goodwill there. So I think artists, so we can use our platforms, number one. Two, we can write about it. You know, we can, you know, whether it is through film, TV, music, we can write more about this stuff. We can sing more about it. And like I said earlier, the arts are special because they turn facts into feelings. And it's a very special thing. You know, you can watch a movie and you can be moved by it. You can listen to a piece of music and it can really resonate and stir you into action. You know, so it is one area in all of this that has a lot of potential. And that's where I would love to get involved and to see what I can do to reach out to more artists and, you know, maybe form a sort of collective. There's so much potential here, I think. Yeah, absolutely. There's I could talk to the cows come home, as a saying here, but I could just talk forever on this issue. And Sewanatu, I can't wait to ask you some questions.
I think I asked you questions. I thought that was the last question, but I have one last one.
Okay.
The question. So, what changes would you foresee in the world where all girls have access to inclusive, quality, and safe education?
Oh, wow. You know, the sky's the limit when it comes to this. You know, what educating girls in the hundreds of millions in the world, the impact that that could have on the world and future generations. There's so many areas, you know, even when it comes to just contributing to society and having that many more people with their skill sets, with their talents to contribute to the world would be incredible. To have women own their own houses, their own the property, their own business. I can't see where this could end. To have women in leadership roles. Imagine if we were the majority. Imagine if it was even split 50-50. I'll take that. You know, I wonder when you see, and I don't want to be hard on men because, you know, that's not my aim, but, you know, more men in the world kill people than women. You know, more men in the world are dictators. More rebel forces are male. A lot of violence come from male. So I just on that real basic level, if we had more women in leadership roles, I wonder, would it be the same or would it be different? I know what I think, but we don't know. Would the health systems be better? You know, for me, and it's sad to say, it's an unknown because we've never been there. We don't know what it's like to have a world where every girl is educated and allowed to contribute. But I would imagine it would be a wonderful world.
Who run the world, girls? And we can't wait to be in a world that is run by women. Let them just have a taste of what we can offer. Like I tell people, we are the strongest force. They need to tap into our potentials. Like we are not asking them to, we want them to enjoy from what we can bring to the table, what we can offer, want them to rest. It's high time they rest and allow us to change society, broke down glass ceilings and see. I know we are the most powerful creatures God created, and we can do things if they give us the platform.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, the way I see it is we all have the breath of life. We all have the breath of life. There's nobody that has it more than another person. We all have a right to be here. We all have a right to be here. We all have a right to thrive and to contribute. And no person should dictate to another person what they're allowed and what they're not allowed. And it's just, it's to it's the unconscious bias. That's the most difficult part. It's what we see as normal that is not normal in society. It's the unconscious discrimination is the hardest to root out because people don't realize. They don't realize. But once they wake up to it, they can never go back to sleep. Once they are awake to discrimination, then that's when change really, really happens on a deeper level. But Sewanatu, I want to talk to you about Sierra Leone and you and your life and your advocacy. My first question to you is, what is life like for girls and women today in Sierra Leone?
A lot has changed if you
Yeah.
compare now to the late 90s, and like the awareness is here. I had opportunities that my mom never dreamed of. She never came closer to them because she was a woman in the late 90s and the early 2000s. So it's when I listen to her, she tells me a story. Like, I'm very close to my family. I'm the last child. So she tells me how she struggled. She got married at age 15 and had my elder brother at 16. She lost her first husband, and then at 18 again, met my dad, and she had 4 kids for my dad, plus my elder brother, so we are 5. She had no opportunity to go to school. She told me at one time, a friend of hers, she borrowed a uniform from a friend of hers to go to school. She left home and went to school. When she came back, her dad burnt down the uniform because the dad said, there is no way you can go to school. And she has always wanted to be a nurse. Up till now, when you go home, she prescribes medicine for you and encourages, because she has the passion of being a nurse. But she's going to go to her grave with that passion. The opportunity was not there for her to get it. So when you look at a typical Sierra Leonean girl for now, I'll take myself as an example. I had the opportunity because my parents knew what they suffered because they did not go to school. But it's not the same for other girls. We still have girls in Sierra Leone who can't go to school because the parents have this patriarchal thinking that only boys should go to school and girls should stay at home. So for myself, as a young girl who had the opportunity to taste the sweetness of education and to taste the little opportunity of education, I think I have committed my life to see every young girl, not just in my community where I come from, but in Sierra Leone, to also taste the sweetness of education, because it is the precious gift our parents could ever give us. It is the best gift you can give to your child, education. So a life for a typical girl here in Sierra Leone is not as easy like any other country, because even if you go to school, you have to fight the patriarchal systems in our schools. I never had a female teacher in school. When I went to university, I had a female lecturer because I am studying gender and development studies. If I had gone to the engineering department, there is no way I could have graduated from university and come back home without having a female lecturer as a role model. You deal with a school wherein the boys bully you in class. They think they are the only ones who should have better grades. When you are in secondary school, you deal with sexual harassment from teachers, from boys. When you go to university, you fight with sex for grades. So even for us who had the opportunity to go to school, we are still fighting the patriarchal system. The university I'm in now, it has been existing in Sierra Leone for over 191 years. Just this year was the first year that we had a female student union president. Wow. Because some of us stood up and say it's high time we change the way they look at us. We are all paying the same amount of fees in this university. We are all studying the same courses. We are all writing the same exams. So there is no way we could not have the opportunity to change. So even if you have the opportunity to go to school, you have so many things to deal with. So this is why we are here, to fight things like that.
Yeah, that is incredible. And I can hear the passion in your voice. And I mean, it's so important what you're doing. And like how, you know, when you're in a very strong patriarchal society and you know, let's say the men in the society in general, you know, not all of them, but they don't want to change that, right? They're resistant to change because this is how it's always been. It works for them. And how do you deal with anger that comes up? How do you turn that into something positive? Because, you know, with the discrimination that I have experienced in my life, which is it's mild compared to what you've described. It sometimes it would enrage me. It would enrage me that I was treated less and I was paid less, and it was just seen as it's how it is. The amount of times I was told in my life, it's just how it is. Accept it. It's just how it is. And my human spirit is going, it is not how it is. It is not right. So how do you take that anger and use it as fuel? You know, what's your process to do that? It's a big question.
So, yeah, it's a big question. The biggest thing for me is the passion.
Yeah.
My passion is bigger than any anger in the community. My passion is bigger than any problem or situation I face on the way. At times I will go to my house, lie down on my bed and say, I'm going to give up. But when I think about what I have set for myself, if we all decide to give up, then we'll stay in the same situation. We need people, strong people, fearless people like myself to change these systems. Because if we don't change them, our children will come and suffer. Our great-grandchildren will come and suffer into this same system. Our forefathers failed us. So as a young person, this is a high time for me to fight for my generation and fight for the upcoming generation. So when I think about things like that, Sewa, if you give up now, your children are going to suffer. Your grandchildren are going to suffer. So the passion is the biggest thing. And the key thing is having mentors. Like I have women that I look up to. This is a great platform. Like you speak up to young girls, tell them what you are going through and how you are coping with things like this. I could remember at one point, I had a very big, it was so stressful for me. A child was getting married and so many things. People took it personal, but I had people who could listen to me. I had people who could sit down and tell me their stories, like mentors that I look up to. So this has been the key things, the passion, and people who are always ready to listen to me, people who are always ready to give me emotional support, because it's also emotional. It has some mental health implications, because when you see things, you want to change them, but you just can't change them at that time. You begin to think about what to do. But I have people who listen to me, people who support me morally, people who support me in doing my advocacies, like the GPE, like Plan International. Their doors are always open to listen to what I have to say, and they take into consideration the advice we give them. So these are the key things that have kept me going as a young person.
Wow, Sewanatu, I know you get this because it's taking me, I'm 43, it's taken me up to this point to, because of my own experiences in life, to actually start to realize that I have a voice. You are so young and you know the power of your voice. And this is so important. You are so important. You are so important to this world. And you are actually changing the world. You are. And the girls around you and everybody in that building who's there to change the world and to raise these girls up. I just commend you. I feel humbled even talking to you and hearing, because you're in it. You know, you're not on the other side of the world, you know, in a situation where, you know, patriarchy is a lot less. I mean, we're still fighting it, but or not fighting. It's probably we're still trying to educate society to be a better, you know, to be a better society. But you're in it, and you're powerful. It's incredible. So, I mean, one of the questions I had was about, you know, the advocacy. Like, what do you do on a daily basis? Like, what's your role in this?
I do so many things on a daily basis, but at times I don't even have time for myself. Like we identify issues and challenge these issues. Like we tweet, we write, we meet government officials and tell them that this is what we want to do. We engage with GPE, we engage with organizations like Plan International, advise them, because my mom always tells me that who feels it knows it best. I have been into the situation. I knew how I handled it. I knew how it impacted me. So we are the right people to speak up about things like this. So a daily life for me here in Sierra is like attending meetings like what I'm doing, advising people, talking to people, and challenging situations, challenging. I could still remember in 2016, we had a girls' takeover organized by Plan International. That was my biggest event and one of the biggest things that inspired me. So we took over the House of Parliament. It was a mock parliament session. So I took over as the Minister of Education, and somebody asked me, if you are the Minister of Education for 30 minutes, what could you change? And on that day, we challenged the Sexual Offences Act of Sierra Leone. We have in Sierra Leone the Customary Marriage Act contradicts the Child Rights Act. In the Child Rights Act, it stated that no child should get married below the age of 18. But the Customary Marriage Act gives space for the parents to give consent if you are below 18 to get married. So that day in the House of Parliament, young girls like myself, my colleagues, we challenged that law. And I can proudly say and successfully say, with the support of Plan International and other NGOs, things are really improving in Sierra Leone.
Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. You're an inspiration, Sewanatu. And I've loved talking with you. I've loved hearing about your life and all the amazing things that you're doing to change the world. And it's been such a privilege to be asked to get involved in this. And I'm open to helping out in any way I can, please. Absolutely. Sewanatu, I wish you all the best with your really, really vital, important work. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
It's also been it's one of the most friendly meetings I've been in. Like my camera is, it's like a therapy now, and